This is the Weigh-In Podcast by Ben Y. Chestnut and the occasional pop-in Sebastian Romero. On this week's Weigh-In, we're going to talk about Taína Fernandez, the first ever on the women's side of Super 32 four-time champion. So when we first talked about Bo Bassett being a four-time champion, we missed the news of Taína Fernandez being a four-time champion, and we apologize for that. So that'll be this week's episode, breaking down a women's wrestling takedown Thursdays so that we can kind of make up for the missed news. With that being said, that is this week's Weigh-In Takedown Thursdays. So we jump right into this one. There's a backstory why this is happening. So we kind of missed that piece of news, and we got a lot of messages through a lot of our socials and a lot of stuff from women's wrestling accounts and a lot of women's wrestling. I think it was a lot of places, coaches, parents, wrestlers, all different types, fans, everything, on why we did not cover Taína Fernandez and why we were only talking about Bo Bassett, why we didn't talk about women's wrestling and how it was monumental for both sports and how we did not do that. And the honest answer is we just didn't see the report. When we run this Weigh-In, we have a lot to do. We work jobs. We have jobs. We can't full time check every news article. And we were already on top of the Bassett. The Bassett was going to win, and we just kind of missed that one, and that's on us. And with that being said, that's on us. We're going to tailor this a little more around the women's wrestling epi to kind of make up for that, because that's what we came in agreement with most of those parties. Really, big mistake, but we will make the difference. So to talk about Taína Fernandez, what the epi is on. I think first and foremost, when we go about it, it is that first of all, becoming a four-time champion of Super 32 is just unheard of. So it's a really good monumental thing to have happened. And in terms of that, we talk about how, first of all, this is what looks to be a good year for her. You win the U17 World Championships, and now you get your fourth title at Super 32. And she's a three-time Who's Number One winner. One Who's Number One 3 times. That is just it's phenomenal. It's monumental. I think when you talk in terms of that is very monumental. When you talk about things of that, you talk about some of that stuff is just it's unheard of. It's very unheard of, and to see something like that is just it's monumental. It's just a very, very monumental thing, and it's nice. It's nice to see that. And on the women's side, they've had a good couple of months. You have Kylie Walker of Iowa, who captured the U23 world title. So you talk about that, like in terms of it, there's really good growth for American women's wrestling. It's getting really good at the senior level and at most of the other levels as well. It's looking really good, and I think in terms of that, it's going to be good, because the goal here is to build a dynasty, almost like Cael Sanderson here. It's to win as many, and I say that is to win as many world titles where they look at you and they say, wow, look at this. In terms of that, we don't always take the team title, but you want to take the team title. So that's something that's really near and dear to start talking about, and to really beyond that is that you had a good levels of wrestling. So you look at U23, and the story following was Kylie Walker coming out with that world title. And you talk about Taína Fernandez capturing that fourth title and doing that. That's just monumental. Is it something we're going to see more at Super 32? I don't think so. I think it's really rare to see a four-time champion. I think it's the very elite. And with that being said, I'm going to say some similar things, like I said in the Bo Bassett episode, that I do think if you can become a four-time champion at Super 32, there's no reason why you can't be a four-time NCAA champion. You know, women's or men's. You know, there's no reason why you can't be a four-time NCAA champion. And I think in terms of that, you know, there should be no reason why. And I think that's a really good thing that she was able to get 4 titles on the women's side. To have that happen in the same year as men's, absolutely crazy. To see something that monumental take place, I think is a really good thing. And I think in terms of that is really good. I think in terms of like I said with Kylie Walker winning Worlds, I think we talk about this. There's a song out there that says the best is yet to come. And I think that's the truth. The best is yet to come for both. For Fernandez and for Kylie. I think the best is yet to come for both of them. I think they're in a peaking moment right now where they're only going to get better here. I think you talk about one that has really, I like to say, is an all-time great women's wrestler in NCAA on the wrestling side. I would like to say that, but in terms of that, people like to go off of technicalities where there was no championship, but I consider it. That's a 4-time NCAA. I mean, that's a 4-time women's wrestling national champ. I mean, multiple-time national champ. Excuse me for the wrong information there. But I think in terms of that, that's a really good thing. You know, we're going to see really great things. And I think in terms of that, I think Kylie can do really great things as far as now you're a world champion at the U23 level. Now the next best thing as a fan wanting to see it, let's see it at the senior level. Let's see it at the senior level, which I think we're not far off from that. I think in terms of Taína Fernandez, I think she's going to have great things that she's going to be doing as well. I think in all terms, there's going to be great things coming from everybody. And I think that's a really good thing. And I think that's really good because of the way we're seeing wrestling right now, the way we're seeing good wrestling, the way wrestling is head right now. And then that's a really good thing. That's really good in terms of a lot of things in terms of wrestling. That there's a lot of things. And that's also really great things. And that's the same. That's some of the things you get to say is like, all right, if Taína Fernandez is doing great things now, it's only going to be up from here. And I think that's really great in terms of it. Like I always like to say, women's wrestling is truly a growing sport. And I believe wrestling in general is growing, but women's wrestling is definitely growing because you got a lot of teams popping up everywhere. Like I said in previous episodes, my alma mater, Wilkes University, has a team now. So it's growing. It's growing. And I think that's a really good thing for that it's growing. I think that it's really good in that in terms of that, it's going to take really good things. And it's going to go in really great place. I think the USA Americans women's wrestling team is going to create new heights that have never been seen before. And I say that as in we're going to create a dynasty here. We're going to keep taking that team title year after year after year. I know it. It's going to happen. You know, you look at the talent in the competition, and that's the best way to go. And that's a really good thing. And that's the thing. That's one thing that I say is really good in terms of it. It's a really good thing that you're seeing good level competition coming out of coming out of 2 women that I feel are really good at what they're able to do. And I think that's a good thing. I think the difference here and why, in terms of why we have to do and why I think they're going to shine very well at the senior level is because look at the level they're at now. You know, the senior level is getting really good because now we're starting to see I don't know. This is probably common before, but not as much as it is now. We're seeing a lot of really good Division I wrestlers start wanting to go back and wrestle for like their home nations. And I'm not saying that like they were, what I'm saying here is that like you're seeing like, okay, like Austin Gomez, who is, a better one is Sebastian Rivera. Sebastian Rivera, great wrestler. Puerto Rican now wrestles for Team Puerto Rico. You're seeing some of these guys go and look at the things they've been able to accomplish. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form they're doing that because they wouldn't make the American team. No, they definitely would. It's the fact that it's just being able to. I think it provides. I think it's like building a whole nother NCAA tournament. Think about it. If the NCAA tournament was freestyle for men's, because you really have all these guys and girls that are going back to their home countries in wrestling, which is really going to build an even stronger. Like, think about, you're going to have Sebastian Rivera and Spencer Lee on a mat. That's a really great thing to see happen. That's a really good thing, and a lot of things are really great, and you're able to see that, like, it's gonna build really good competition, and I think that's really good. Are we gonna start to see another nation possibly snag a team title? I don't think so. I think America's probably gonna snag a lot of those team titles. As much as they don't, I would like them to start, like a Kill Sanderson dynasty, start getting those team titles, and that's a really great thing, and I think that's a really good thing in terms of everything. That's really good, and that's a nice thing to have happen. And I think the best way to go about this is about, stack up this American team, and look at it. We got, like, what are, some of the, like, youngest wrestlers, like, I'm talking high school, are some of them are, like, better than these college wrestlers, which is crazy. Like, let's talk about Marcus Blaze. That's some names to drop that we know are doing really well. I know we kind of said we keep this on the woman's side, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's no way that Taína Fernandez can't go into a college women's open and win the whole thing. Like, legitimately. Like, there's pure talent that's coming out, and it tells you that the sport of wrestling is getting a lot more competitive, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing for the sport of wrestling. And I think that that's amazing what we get to see out of the sport of wrestling. It's so good. And that's great. It's great to see things like that. It's great to see the different changes that the sport of wrestling has gone through. Rule changes of college. How high school is now starting to get some of those college rules. And some states, they don't have that out of bounds rule yet, which I think you should. One thing I learned is that I got to see when I was in college, great matches, takedowns happen because lazy wrestling, which we talked about before, lazy wrestling on the edge. Guy thinks, oh, I'm out, I'm almost out, and then they got, like, an elbow in and they're counting back points. It's the most bizarre thing, but it's the best rule out there. Like, it keeps. When I was growing up, you had so much of the debate in New Jersey of, was he in, was he out? Is it a takedown? Not is it a takedown? If they would just use college out of bounds rules, your foot's in, that's takedown. It makes it so much more simpler. It's very black and white when you do it that way. It's like, hey, was the foot in? It's takedown. Foot ain't in? No takedown. It just makes it easier. I think it makes it easier on officials. And I think that's a great thing. And then even, if we tailor back to where we're supposed to be, on women's side, they have a championship coming this year. As us weighing, we draft all the time. They got a championship coming this year, which is going to be a really great thing because now they're starting to get their own championship, which means team trophies, this and that. Now, do I think I was going to sweep this year's championship? I don't think so. I think the women's wrestling market is getting so much more competitive that I don't think, given the time frame, like I say, cowgirl wrestling should be a thing. The Okie State Cowboys, Oklahoma State University should have a women's wrestling team. I think if Iowa wins this year's NCAA team trophy, I think they're going to win it maybe for the next 2 years. And I'm going to explain why I say this, because this is the thing. If Iowa women's wrestling team wins, it means that there's going to be somebody somewhere that's going to want to knock them off. And that means another school, big, probably like Penn State or Okie State, they're going to come up with a team. And when that team comes out, they're going to stack that team up, and it's going to look really good. That's the one thing I liked about the men's wrestling championship. And this year's women's. the competition level is so high. Like ones and twos are not safe. And I used to, and I say that because we learned that in the men's tournament, ones and twos are not safe. Your seed does not matter. No matter what you are, you can still go down, and that's because it's all great things that happen at the NCAA tournament. And I say that because just about anybody, anytime can go down, and before you know it, it's like, oh, they just lost. Wow, what just happened? And it's just something where it's like in a matter of seconds, it's like somebody just lost. It's just like that, and it's a really great thing. And I like it because those are some of the best matches are the upsets. Because seeing somebody who may be seeded 23 go out and take out a number 8 or a number 10, that shows you how scrappy somebody is. It proves more than what I've been telling over the last couple months on these takedowns Thursdays is that it doesn't matter what somebody's seed is. If you're good and you get after and you score your points, you can very well go and win a match like that. Like I talked about Malik Councilman and Robert Howard, where Malik Councilman was the higher seed and Robert Howard just boom, boom, back points and Malik Councilman was down. People don't understand how dangerous it is to get bonus points, to get the back points early. Like you get 2 sets of backs, it makes all the difference because now your opponent's in the hole. Your opponent's trying to. I know in terms of freestyle, on the women's wrestling, you don't really get that. But you really do. You get in there and you get a quick leg lace and you're up 8-0 or you're up 5-0. That makes a difference. It really does. A lot of people don't think, hey, I got a takedown. I kind of got a takedown. I'll throw their confidence off by, a ride out. Ride out will throw confidence off, but here's my thing. What'll throw somebody's confidence off is this. Is getting back points. Is taking them down and getting 2 sets of swipes. Getting, going there and getting, okay, I got a takedown, now I got 2 back points, and then turn them again. That is going to literally change somebody's mood to now, not like, hey, I got taken down, all right, I got to build from here. No, it's, I just got turned twice. The mentality of being turned twice, not everybody's, some guys and gals can say they've never been there. If you're undefeated, you've never been there. And some people can get beat and still not be turned twice. Take it from a guy that was not undefeated. No way, shape, or form was undefeated. Got beat a lot. I'm going to tell you, it happens. Got beat a lot. Getting turned twice, the game plan changes. You're like, there's so many times I got turned twice, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm down huge. It's 6-0. Like that. I got turned like that. Like this and that. I was turned. Like literally got taken down. As soon as I said, let me get up, boom, I'm already in a tail. And that's why when this happened to me when I was very younger, that's why I grew to building off, that Anthony Ashnell tilt series, like I call the Ashnell tilt series, which is really just getting to your tilt quick, knowing that that's what you're going to do and turning to it right away. And that's why I was able to capitalize on a lot of my victories, because when you're on top and you break the guy's first move, gal's first move, and they're turned already, it takes confidence away. It takes confidence away when you sit there and you turn them good. And that's the difference for me. I turned them. And that's why I liked watching Anthony Ashnell wrestle, because he wasn't somebody that was all about the tricky he wasn't a big, when watching some of his records doing it wasn't big funk. It wasn't big. He was very, good at what he was able to do. When he got in on a shot deep, he was able to finish his takedowns. And when I was growing up, I looked up to that, because that was somebody who was very hard to take down. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be somebody that was difficult to take down, and to learn how, when he was up top, before you knew it, like, I watched the Rutgers duel meet. I don't remember who they were facing. I started duel meet, Ashnell wrestling. I got up to make me a snack. By the time I got back to sit my snack down, he had already turned the guy multiple times. I believe it was multiple times. He'd already turned the guy. It might have been once or twice. I'm not exactly sure, but he turned him. And I got back. I was recording the Big Ten match. I wound it back, rewinded the match, and said, he just turned him so quick. What was that? And I looked at it and I said, I want to turn him. I want to turn guys like that. I want to turn guys. By the time you turn around and tell somebody, get ready, we're going to beat this kid. I've already turned your guy twice. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Who's this? And that was the mentality, and that was something that I did. That was something that was really good. I know another thing that has been really asked across on the social of the weigh-in, and a lot of our overwhelming DMs due to our mistake, which I do apologize for not seeing that. Taína Fernandez was a 4-timer alongside with Bo Bassett. That's on me. We take the guilt there. We take the blame there on that one. We got to do better. We got to do better in terms of women's wrestling, and we will. Here on out, we're going to try to do better. So you can. Another question that was asked me, I won't answer this now because that's a video in itself. The question of Bo Bassett versus Caldwell on Real American Freestyle. What was asked of me was how I felt about Bo Bassett's eligibility and do I consider that professional? And this is kind of a women's wrestling episode, and I think that's a full episode answer. I will answer that next week, but just to give you a little sneaky peek of what I mean by that. I think that it's very interesting. I think in terms of NCAA rules here, I think it's an interesting thing that if it is professional, I think you have to ask yourself, a football player can't go sign with the NFL, get hurt, and come back to college. And that's something we have to seriously say to ourselves. And I'm not trying to knock down Bo Bassett. I'm just trying to kind of answer the question because people enjoy my perspective. And with that being said, I know that is something. But more than most, I think the case here is that it is a situation, a sitch. And I think in terms of NCAA, the reason why they might not call it an issue is because he has not wrestled that event yet. I think once he does wrestle that event, I think it may come into very huge question, his eligibility. And I say that because Real American Freestyle, if we'll pull up their Instagram and see what's in the bio. Because if you're labeling yourself as a professional entertainment, I think that means, I think that's going to be interesting. So let's see Real American Freestyle. It says the first unscripted pro wrestling league for the best athletes in the world. Pro, which means professional. So, and this is actual wrestling. This isn't like WWE. I guess the follow-up would be, okay, well, would you say Gable Steveson shouldn't be eligible? Gable Steveson went to WWE, but the question was Gable Steveson was an Olympic champ, and this is pro wrestling. They get paid for this. I would hope so. You're getting in there, you're getting paid. So the interesting point here is if whether the NCAA comes in and has anything to say. So in terms of me, I'm not really going to get into the full of my opinion, but I think it's going to be interesting to see after he wrestles the event, does the NCAA weigh in? But I will definitely get an extensive breakdown, what the rules are and all of that for you next week. And I say that just to clarify that. So it's kind of letting everybody know because it was asked. So letting everybody know, I will answer that. But no, I definitely think Taína Fernandez is going to have it's going to be a good year. You started off like that, becoming a 4-time Super 32 champion, which is really rare. I think it's going to be a good year. Even in terms of Kylie, like you talk about becoming a U23 world champ, becoming a world champ at any level is a good distinction, and to have it happen. But it's a really good thing, and I think that's really good. So it's definitely interesting. I think it's definitely something interesting, and I think in terms of that, it'll be interesting to see how this season's going to play out, because it's with the women's getting NCAA women's wrestling getting a championship, with another good year looking on men's side, with all that transferring going around. It looks interesting. It's going to look interesting. It's going to look interesting. It's going to look very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to toe the line of a good year, because there was a lot of transferring going around, and I think that's going to be good. And I think with a championship this year, this is Iowa's first year to get some NCAA hardware. Will they be able to capitalize, or will this not be a runaway? Because you look at it this year, a lot of their huge class is going to be graduating, and you say once all the best wrestlers of Iowa are gone, what is left? And I know they got some good wrestlers that are still there, but you got to ask them, what is left? What is left? And that's something that is really interesting to me. Like, what is really left? What is really left in terms of that? What is really left in terms of Iowa? And I guess we're gonna find out. But you can always recruit. But once the hopes here is that Penn State gets a team. Iowa, I mean, Penn State gets a team. Oklahoma State University gets a team. Ohio State gets a team. Rutgers needs a team. Rutgers and Okie have it as a club right now, which it looks like it's as a club. But let's pull it out from the club and get it as a school sport. Let's go. Women's wrestling is coming, and we need more teams, because this can't just be Iowa runs away with a trophy every year, because we do not want to repeat the same thing like men's. We don't want no Kale Sanderson repeat. The same schools taking the team title every year. And it's not every year. Kale has been beat. Don't get it twisted. When Logan Stever was wrestling, Kale got beat, and during the Iowa COVID run, he got beat. But no, I want to see somebody different. Back it up. I just don't want the women's to be overran by Iowa every year. And that's what it's looking like right now. But it's not looking like that, because they got a good group of four, because they were kind of the first. I don't want to say the first, but it was a good thing. It was a good thing coming out that, this is a school like Iowa. To come out and say something like that, that's a huge thing. That's a really good thing. So in terms of that, that's really huge. So it's just like, I hope a good thing comes from it. I hope a good thing comes from it, from that. Like, a really good thing comes from that, and that'll be really good. It's a really good thing. It's a really, really, really good thing to go on and see that in the women's and in college wrestling. That's a really good thing. It's really good, and I think this year's college wrestling season is going to show us a lot more than we're willing to understand. But I can't wait to see what comes out of this year's college wrestling season. All the good things that are going to come out. It's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. I think that's going to be a really great thing, and I think in terms of that, that is something that's amazing, to see happen. And I think that's really great. I feel like it's a great thing. Like, either way to look at it, it's really good. It's a really great thing. It's a really great thing. And I think in terms of all of that, it's been really great. And I think it's a really great thing. And that's what I come to that. So we are in the end of the epi. Yet another epi. I did let you know that we are going to talk about Bassett Sitch next week. I did do a little preview to that. Took a little bit of time away. I do apologize in advance for us not doing extensive coverage of women's wrestling, that we have not kind of done well there, and that's on us. But I do definitely think that we've got to do better, and as a pod, we will do better, and we're going to try to do as best we can better in general. All the way around, we want to do better. We want to do better either way. We want to do better, in terms of a pod, and we're going to try to do better the best way we can, and I think that's a good thing, and that's the best way to go. And that is yet another epi of the Weigh In Podcast by Ben Rochester and the occasional pop-in Sebastian Romero. And I would like to say thank you for watching this one as our kind of makeup for the mess up. But with that being said, Weigh In out. The Weigh In, where stories ignite.